You know?
I think civic education in Kenya needs to be done aggressively. That's what I'll use, because I think we lack that part, that connection between what politicians do and how my life is affected by it. I think there's a misconnection,
Yeah.
you know, in there, and I think people need to invest in it. So if we're going to, but I will say this: I think the good thing with Gen Z, we don't have to have in-person meetings. This education can be done online. You know, get on TikTok, get on Facebook, get on Instagram, and do it there. I think the mistake, we, as we said before, even with voter education, all that stuff, we did all of that in person, like, oh, kuja tufanye hivi, but we need to get to where they are and educate them. So the idea of telling them, listen, Kenya has this amount of debt. Lakini, can you tell me how it has served you?
Right.
Okay. I think we all talk about debt, and only a few of Kenyans understand what that debt does. There's no connection between how tumepewa debt na the World Bank, ama IMF, ama the EU. There's no connection between that and what we're supposed to do. And some people are like, listen, I'm just minding my own business and drinking water, keep it moving. But I think we need to direct correlation between, we got this debt, tukasema tunafanya hivi. Has that been done? Tunajenga barabara, hakuna barabara kwetu, mbona kuna barabara? We need to start asking those questions.
But you know,
before you comment, and let me say this, and this I'll piggyback on what he said and what Ali said. And I think, I don't know if this conversation was live on air, or I think this was before we went on air, when Jemo had said he's neutral on the fence or whatever. But Ali was pointing out how wave, and that if you look at your wave and how much money you sent and spent, right?
Yeah.
How much of an important person you are sending that money. Now, to harken back to when Mother was here, she said we may not be able to vote, or we may not whatever, but we have a powerful voice. In that we can dictate, we can educate, we can influence people back home. Now, we may threaten and say, Statuma Pesa, but I think even us over here on this side, based on how we know things work and stuff, and, even the civic education can actually start from our side here, by educating, by painting the picture, and letting people know, like, when like Jemo is saying, don't talk about 100 billion or 10 billion or 100 million or whatever. Talk in terms of mom or dad. Now your let's say your coffee or your tea or whatever, unga, this is what happened to your unga. Because of what we have there, they have to raise the prices, and that is why you are paying 230, so that the money can be collected to pay that. I mean, just to provide, ni kama kufundisha mtoi, like, okay, you're going to that level, not saying that but you're trying to provide, you're trying to make them see that you're not talking about 100 billion, but you're talking about the borrowing and what the borrowing, the effects of the borrowing. Borrowing is good, but this borrowing is not good, because this is going to happen to you, and your farm and your produce and your and your milk and whatever.
Now with all the civic, because sometimes I also try to look at my own circle, like within my own family, as someone who's tried to engage the family and educate them, and like, it got to a point where I was trying to understand, why is it that I have a situation where I have people that I've been educating and telling them that this is what you're supposed to do, but it doesn't seem to be motivating them. And this is where sometimes civic education might be sometimes we may overestimate what it could do. Civic education is important, no doubt. But what has to change, and there are certain concepts that are just very difficult for the layman to understand.
Right.
What is important is for us to try to change our political systems and our political processes, whereby we can get the right people in office. Because even with all the education, because look at even the most educated, when it comes to politics, politics is a monster that's difficult to understand, where a mamamboga and a professor are going to reason at the same level when they're going to make a decision. You know, so that's why sometimes I'm saying, even with this civic education, this is someone who's very educated. They know, you know, like the impact of this and that, you know, like they understand, you know, the correlation between this and that, but they still make decisions at the same level as someone who has very little education. So it's important for us to, what's more important is for us to design a political system that will reward the people who are gonna, you know, like be looking towards achieving our goals, and we know who they are. We have, for example, in Makweni, Kivutha, Kibwana. So we already have examples in our system. We already have examples in our system that this is what we're looking for. I mean, not necessarily 100%, but this is what we're looking for. Let's have a template that's gonna reward such people, and then pick someone like maybe Babu Owino. This is the type of person that we don't want. So let's have a political system that's also gonna punish such people. When you have such a system, then the people who are in there are gonna be incentivized, because they're fighting for survival. They're gonna be incentivized to behave Kivutha-like, because that's what will return them to office, more than behave Babu-like, because that's what will eliminate them from office. But at the moment, it's the opposite. Kivutha is an exception. Kivutha stood up to his MCAs. Kivutha is an exception, you know. So if we could just try to find the right system, you know, like if Kina Kivutha would mentor people such that we have a system where we know if you behave Babu-like, you will get punished. And if you behave Kivutha-like, you will get rewarded. Guess what? We will not need to have Mamambogas understanding the intricacies of GDP to debt ratio, you know. So that's one of the fundamentals that we need to figure out. Ruth.